If it appears to you that it would have to be a venal, evil, or fundamentally flawed person to hold the other perspective, you're not finished. There are Hitlers, there are truly evil people, but there's not a whole movement of them. There are leaders who are utterly evil, liars, manipulators. But there aren't whole organizations with hundreds of people and thousands of members, all of whom have those qualities. If you think that way, you need to go back to square one, in my opinion. So that to be effective in dealing with a movement like that, even if you're dealing with a venal leader, and especially if you are, you need to understand where the other people are coming from so that you can fashion an effective strategy and response. You've got to be willing to take the risk that you will be changed by looking at it from their point of view. I don't know any, I've looked at a lot of techniques by which advocates avoid falling into the trap of assuming that the other people are dogmatic, stupid, wrong, and devils to boot. That's the advocacy trap. Once you're there, it's hopeless. And as well as I can see it, I can only find one way that people consistently avoid the advocacy trap. And that way is to decide in advance, before they ever enter the battlefield, before they ever enter the fray, before they ever start their advocacy, that they will hold the other person in a place of respect. That they will not allow themselves to convert the other into an object, but will always hold them a place that this person, however strange it seems to me, is worthy of my respect, even if they are dogmatic, stupid, and wrong. And that's when I look at advocates who are the best at this, over and over, they find a way to do that. For some it's religious belief. For some it's a matter of professionalism. For some it's a matter of maybe their personal orientation. Take your pick. But I think that public policy advocates need to learn that one, develop it as a habit, and practice it before they ever go into the ring. It's like a football player that doesn't retaliate after being fouled because they've learned that not to do it. Find your own technique. But that's one that I think public policy advocates need to be taught that it's important, and then invited to develop their own technique for doing it. So that's part of what I hope to teach in my courses. Most of us choose our stance as a reflection of the stance we perceive in the other. We reflect it back, and we think that means we're sophisticated. And the truth is, we never perceive another person accurately. That's true even with my wife. We know each other really well. Starting with that we cannot know another person fully, right? And that, so therefore, if we allow our stance to be determined as a reflection of what we perceive as the stance of the other, every time they show us disdain, we mirror it back to them. Every time they show us anger, we mirror it back. Every time they show us hatred, we mirror it back to them. And then they, in turn, are recognizing our stance and mirroring it back to us, right? And so eventually then you're locked into a place where neither of you correctly perceives the other, but I'll tell you what each of us is certain of. Everybody I know thinks that fundamentally they're good. Everybody I know thinks that in the end, I would do the right thing if I could. That my beliefs are motivated primarily by the public interest with only a tinge of my personal interests involved. I'm mostly open-minded with only a tinge of bias, right? Mostly, I'm a decent person. So if you attack me as indecent, the one thing I know about you is you're a liar. I don't know anything else about you, but I know you don't see me. You're not listening to me. In fact, you probably are listening to me. You're probably just flat out lying about me. And, so it's fun to practice, to experience, and to announce. The Pharisee's posture is wonderful. Remember the story of the Pharisee in the Bible. The Pharisee stands in the corner and says, "Oh Lord, I thank thee that I am not as others. Even as this publican over here." I like to say, even as this Republican over here. Even as this Democrat over here. Oh, I thank thee that I'm not as stupid as that guy. That I don't have such foolish and biased views. Oh, I'm so grateful that I don't have that kind of thinking. Well, did you know that a dog knows when you don't like him? And believe it or not, people are smarter than dogs. If you have disdain for someone, they'll eventually get it. And they'll mirror it back to you. And so the question is, how do you stop the circle of disdain? I disdain you, you disdain me, you disdain him, he disdains me, I disdain her, she disdains you, and it goes around and around and around in a circle. How do you break that circle? I only know of one way to do it. And that is somebody in the circle stands up and says, I'm out of the circle. Unconditionally. Not if you stop, I'll stop. Not, okay, I'll stop doing this if everyone else will agree to stop doing it. Somebody in the circle stands up unconditionally and steps out of the circle. That's the only way I know to break it. It's the only way I've ever seen it done. And you watch and you look and you'll see circles of dislike, disdain, hatred, resentment in communities, in relationships, in companies. And over and over, when that cycle gets broken, how does it get broken? It isn't by mutual consent. Somebody stands up and says, I'm not in this anymore. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I don't know any other way to stop it. So as I can see it, there's only two ways to stop the circle of disdain. Never start. Stand up. That's it. And it can't be contingent on other people. Because remember, if everyone takes their stance as a reflection of the stance that's coming towards them, it works both ways. When you're consistently showing respect and care for someone just because they're wrong, they can't take away your commitment to treat them as a human being that is worthy of your respect and care. Very few people are totally immune to being treated decently. It happens. Very few people are completely immune